In the room, the man leered at the woman's exposed long legs. He reached out with his restless hand, but the woman tied his hands with a strap. At this moment, the man was still enjoying the cat-and-mouse game. However, in the next second, the woman raised her hand and struck with a knife. Look, another man has died on the bed. This is already the second murder in the city. It's only been a few days since the last case. Such frequent murder incidents. What exactly is happening? Forensic analysis shows that both cases were committed by the same person, who is right-handed and used the same method. What kind of deep-seated hatred is this? Based on the connection between the two cases, Officer Xiao Shuai discovered that the suspects were doctors from the same hospital and were good friends. Xiao Shuai learned from a nurse that they had another friend who was a plastic surgeon with some social influence. The three of them were notorious troublemakers at the hospital. To uncover more details, Xiao Shuai approached the hospital's cleaning lady. It's true what they say, aunties know everything. What he found out was truly surprising. There was indeed something going on. 10 years ago, on a rainy night, a hospital received a beautiful woman who had been in a car accident. She was stunningly attractive, catching the eye of every man in the hospital, including 3 friends who were also doctors. Unfortunately, they were the ones assigned to operate on her. Late at night, when no one was around, the male doctors, driven by lust, violated the young woman. Although she was unconscious, she was still somewhat aware of what was happening to her body but was powerless to stop it. The 3 doctors, relying on their family's influence, ensured that no one dared to speak out about the incident. The beautiful woman had no choice but to endure the humiliation. 10 years have passed, and the beautiful woman from back then is now the famous star Xuefeng. She stands glamorous in front of everyone, but no one would guess the story behind her. As for the 3 doctors, 2 have already met their end, while the other man remains at large. By the time Xiao Shuai finished the story, it was already late at night. He wandered thoughtfully through the streets and noticed that the butcher shop was still lit. This piqued his curiosity. When he pushed the door open, he saw that the butcher was actually a woman. Is it not enough to be a woman, or is it the rare beauty of 4,000 years? With fair skin, beautiful looks, and long legs, she left a deep impression on Xiao Shuai. Back home, Xiao Shuai lay in bed, unable to get the image of the beautiful woman out of his mind. He tossed and turned all night. Early the next morning, Xiao Shuai went to the last doctor, Xiao Chong's house. Based on his deduction, the next target would be Xiao Chong. He warned him to be careful when going out. However, Xiao Chong didn't take it seriously and even dismissed the rumors from 10 years ago. Directly kicking back at the J Bureau, Handsome immediately checked the records of those who had undergone anesthesia 10 years ago, narrowing down the investigation. Through his inquiries, he found that only Xuefeng matched the conditions at that time, so he brought her to the J Bureau for questioning. However, what Xuefeng said was completely different from the rumors. Without solid evidence, Handsome had no choice but to release her. But he still didn't give up on any clue. Watch closely. The man pulls the beautiful woman in front of him and decisively presses her onto the table. Then he lifts her skirt, confirming his suspicions. However, looking at the beautiful woman, the man hesitates. Seeing this, the woman directly kisses him. Just a while ago, one of the 3 doctors, Xiao Chong, was stabbed. Fortunately, his daughter appeared just in time, allowing him to escape. During the fight, Xiao Chong managed to wound the assailant's thigh. Meanwhile, Xiao Shuai went to the butcher shop to ease his longing, but unexpectedly noticed Xiao Mei limping. This aroused his suspicion, and upon closer inspection, he confirmed that Xiao Mei was indeed the culprit. But the killer was too beautiful, even making the police lose their focus. From then on, Xiao Shuai's feelings for Xiao Mei grew uncontrollably. Every day after work, he would inexplicably pass by Xiao Mei's butcher shop, letting his imagination run wild about the beauty. Indeed, men are visual creatures. No one can escape the charm of a beautiful woman. When Xiao Shuai returns home, he even brings a pig's nose, as if he can see Xiao Mei through it. Sometimes, he meets an old lady buying meat at the door. But this old lady has a strong perfume smell, which feels familiar and leaves a deep impression on Xiao Shuai. As a police officer, although Xiao Shuai was treated unfairly by Xiao Qiang, he still decides to protect him secretly. Finally, Xiao Shuai found a breakthrough. He followed Xiao Chong to a high-end club. Xiao Chong was in his element, enjoying food, drinks, and entertainment. Despite knowing there were dangers, he showed no fear. Xiao Shuai was trying to pinpoint Xiao Chong's exact location when he encountered a woman in a leather jacket and a mask. At first, Xiao Shuai didn't pay much attention to her, but then she accidentally dropped a knife. Realizing something was wrong, Xiao Shuai quickly chased after her. However, the woman used a railing to descend, leaving Xiao Shuai behind. Xiao Shuai ended up empty-handed. The next day, Xiao Shuai took the knife for identification and learned it was a boning knife, often used for removing bones from pork. At that moment, a woman's image flashed in his mind. He then walked to the butcher shop again. Watching Xiao Mei's skilled knife work, he felt it was very similar to the killer's technique. Perhaps only Xiao Mei could have such knife skills. That night, Xiao Chong encountered the same attack as before and learned that the assailant had an injury on their thigh. Xiao Shui quickly ran to the butcher shop, but he was distracted by Xiao Mei. When he finally realized, he was certain that Xiao Mei was the culprit. However, his once firm resolve began to waver. Xiao Mei and Xiao Shui were getting intimate when Xiao Qiang was taken away by the men in black from the hospital again. By the time Xiao Shui arrived, Xiao Qiang was already gone. Xiao Shui should be relieved that Xiao Mei was with him during the incident, providing him with an alibi and easing his doubts. He put his heart into his stomach. Meanwhile, Xiao Chong was tied up and taken to the basement, surrounded by transparent plastic bags and a sense of impending danger. He saw a white-haired woman walk in and desperately asked her for help, but she told him she was there to collect souls. You can't imagine how miserable this man's death was. He was tied to a wooden stake when a woman in leather suddenly rushed in and cut his major arteries, causing him to bleed out slowly. Then, his pants were stripped off, and a large wolf dog from a cage bit his genitals. The man screamed in agony, but no one came to his aid. Compared to the heinous acts of this doctor, dying 100 times wouldn't be enough. The white-haired woman then changed her demeanor, threw away her cane, and slowly removed her mask. No one could have guessed that underneath the mask was the famous star, Xuefan. Xiao Qiang's crime was quickly discovered by the police. But this time, the killer was left-handed, while the previous 2 cases involved right-handed perpetrators. This left Xiao Shui puzzled. Who could the killer be? While Xiao Shui was eating, he heard Xuefen's voice on TV. She was dressed as the old lady he often saw at the butcher shop. He suddenly realized that the familiar perfume scent was from her. No wonder it felt so familiar. The old lady was actually Xuefen in disguise, and Xuefen was the murderer. Xiao Shui requested to interrogate Xuefen again, but he had no evidence and Xuefen had an alibi, so he couldn't prove she was the killer. It was all just his speculation, so he had to release her that day. Feeling dejected, Xiao Shui thought of Xiao Mei again and went to the butcher shop for comfort. But when he opened the door, he found the place deserted. Xiao Shui was stunned. It turns out that Xiao Mei was also involved. This is a joint murder case. Meanwhile, similar murders are happening in another city. Determined, Xiao Shui vows to uncover the truth. He secretly went to the crime scene and through various means, finally found Xiao Mei. But this meeting wasn't a reunion, it was a battle on the verge of breaking out. Xiao Shui pointed a gun at Xiao Mei, and Xiao Mei drew a knife in defense. Their eyes turned red with anger as they engaged in an evenly matched fight. However, there are differences between men and women. Xiao Mei was defeated by Xiao Shui. He pinned her to the ground, intending to capture her. But at the crucial moment, Xiao Shui hesitated and couldn't bring himself to harm Xiao Mei. A few days later, feeling unworthy of being a police officer, Xiao Shui resigned from his job and started living a carefree life with Xiao Mei. But on this day, Xiao Shui accidentally knocked over the bedside table and found a photo album. It was filled with pictures of Xiao Mei as a child, but he unexpectedly discovered that Xiao Mei had an identical twin sister. So, who is the one Xiao Shui has feelings for? The plot gets mind-bending here. This photo album is undoubtedly the highlight of the film. Reality and illusion blur, and even Xiao Shui can't tell the difference. Looking at Xiao Mei's face, he suddenly feels a sense of unfamiliarity. Is he fantasizing about the sister or the twin? The film ends here, leaving the mind-bending part to you.